Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Oh, Sam, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, really, really great. So just want to set the scene first, introduce myself in case you don't know me. I'm the event director for the PA show. And I thought it would be a great pleasure to interview Lucy, probably the most known figure in the executive community, and celebrate and talk about International Women's Day. So just let's start off. I hate asking you this to introduce yourself because I think everybody knows you, but do you want to just give a very quick introduction?
Oh, thanks, Sam. Okay, so if you don't know me, I am the CEO of Marcham Publishing. We publish Executive Secretary magazine, soon to change brand, but watch this space. And we do training and events and, oh my goodness, basically we look after you. We get out there and we campaign on your behalf all over the world.
Oh, great. And why don't you tell everyone how you're involved with the PA show?
Oh, well, I've been involved with the PA show right since, where was it? 1987, I first started working in publishing. And 2 years after that, I went to work at the Times and worked on Times Creme. And Times Creme, of course, then became the Office show. And the Office show then became the PA show. So I've been involved right the way through. But this time round, I am going to be at the Keynote Theatre hosting the first day there. I'm going to be speaking, doing a keynote speech myself, and of course, supporting as always.
Yes, absolutely. What does it mean to you, the PA show and getting together? I mean, obviously, you know, been a year in lockdown, but being at an event in person and being at the PA show, what does that mean to you?
Oh gosh, well, I think it's probably going to be the first in-person event that I do, actually. And it's been a year since I did my last event. Yesterday was the last event I did in Dubai. And so for me, it's just going to be amazing. You know, it was always the show where the industry met and gathered and was excited to see each other and found out what was new and looked for new suppliers, of course, but also where you could get really cost-effective education. And I've seen the program for this year and it's looking spectacular. So well done, you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very excited. I can't wait to get back to meeting people in person. It's the thing that I've really missed the most, and networking and seeing everyone's faces and even meeting people that I've spoken to for ages but actually haven't met, although it feels like I have. So we are here celebrating International Women's Day, and you know, you inspire me, but I really wanted to delve in deeper with you. The theme this year is Each for Equal. What does that mean to you?
Well, actually, right now, it's really interesting because I feel that the theme has kind of emerged around our ExecSec Live Global event, which is happening any second, which is very much the history of women in work and fighting for equality. And in fact, I interviewed yesterday ahead of Global a lady called Karen Nussbaum. Now, Karen Nussbaum was the lady that started the 9 to 5 movement. And I don't know about you, Sam, but I hadn't been aware until I saw an article quite recently from the BBC that the film 9 to 5 was actually built on a movement that had been happening for 10 years before that. And 50 years on, although they made an awful lot of difference in their time and, you know, for example, got things like pregnancy recognized for women and maternity leave and pensions and, you know, things that, well, in the States, actually, quite a lot of that still isn't there, but worldwide, it was an amazing movement. There is still so much that needs to be done. You know, they were campaigning then for against sexual harassment, and they were campaigning against racism in the workplace, and so many of the things that, you know, we're only just really starting to tackle properly now. And I was horrified, actually, to realize that it's only 100 years ago since women got the vote. And in the United States, there was an amendment that was tabled in 1923, which was the Equal Rights Amendment. And that amendment actually has still not gone through. Still not gone through. So women are still not part of the Constitution in the United States. And so much stuff really needs sorting out. But for assistants particularly, it could be horrifying to realize that it was 50 years ago that they were started campaigning for proper job descriptions and for assistants to be recognized as a proper part of the workforce and not just support, and all the things that we keep talking about. So for me, the other theme of International Women's Day this year is Choose to Challenge. And they were marching 50 years ago with placards saying raises, not roses, because in the States, there's a day called Administrative Professionals Day, where all the admins get given flowers and chocolates and that kind of thing to recognize the work that they do. I think most assistants would prefer to be recognized 365 days of the year. So this year we're looking at recognition, not roses, and we're about to launch a campaign about that. So that's what International Women's Day for me is about this year.
Oh, brilliant. And, you know, excited to hear that interview as well. That must have been really inspiring to which actually brings me on to my next question, and I'm sure the interview, you know, that inspired you. But talk to me about women who inspire you and what it is that inspires you about them.
Oh gosh, so many women inspire me. Do you know what? I don't know about you, but I was one of those women that was brought up that women were deeply suspicious. And it was quite long into my life before I realized how amazing other women could be.
Yeah.
And actually there are obvious women that inspire me, of course, you know, but to me, the assistants inspire me every day because they are so passionate about what they do. Even just last night, I spent over an hour talking to a woman who was saying that there is nothing for them in their business, that she'd actually gone to the chief executive's EA and had said she wanted to put a network in place for the assistants, and they had turned around and said, we don't do that here, go away. And she's fighting and she's putting together a business proposal, and she'd called me because she wanted details as to how she did that. There are little pockets, well, not even little pockets, there are people who are assistants in every business across the world who are consistently fighting to get the recognition that they deserve and who understand what assistants can do for a business. And those women who very quietly get on with this revolution in the background inspire me every day. But obviously, also when I'm traveling, I see some of the most amazing speakers who just do such a phenomenal job of inspiring the assistants, and working together is what inspires me to make this change. You know, Sam, this is 500 million women worldwide. It's a fifth of the world's working population. And if we get this right, we can change their working lives. That's something worth fighting for. And that to me inspires me.
Yeah, I feel like there is a change going on over the last few years. And, you know, I do think that doors are being opened and eyes are being opened. So I think it's exciting times ahead. I mean, you talked there a lot about the challenges that women face in this sector and in general, I think in business, you know, about being heard and, you know, taking a seat at the table. Are there other current challenges that you see for women in the sector?
Very definitely. And one of the main ones, I think, is the lack of understanding about what the role actually does and the lack of career progression. Because there are still companies, you know, where assistants only get promoted when their executive does. It's nothing to do with them personally. And to me, that's a huge thing that needs changing, because we've got 162 job titles in this marketplace already that we found. And that's before you start looking at titles in translation. And so one of the things that we've been working on for the last 6 years is a global framework for career progression, which I'm really excited about launching in May, because what it will do is it will mean that there will be 5 levels of assistant, and we're only calling them level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, because there were so many arguments about what we should call them, because in every country the titles are different. But what it will do is it will mean that you will be able to see where you fit and what additional skills you need in order to progress to the next level. It will mean that businesses will map their current career progression, if they have it, to that. it will mean that if assistants take it to their HR departments, hopefully the executives and HR will look and go, oh gosh, we're not using our assistants like this, and maybe we're missing a trick. But also our research showed us that the executives don't know what they're hiring for. So hopefully what it will mean is that the executives will look and go, that's what I need, and that's a level whatever. But attached to that skills matrix is also a tasks matrix, which says the kind of things you can expect your assistant to do. So between the two of them, businesses should be able to finally build correct job descriptions, because how do you measure against what somebody's doing unless the job description is correct? But also the other thing is, if you are an assistant then and you know you're a level 3, if you're applying for jobs, if you're going on training, whatever it is, you know exactly where you sit, and so does everybody else. So I think this is going to be a huge step forward to tackle a lot of the problems that there are with this profession at the moment. And please, this is a profession now. It isn't just.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we promote at the PA show too. And it fascinates me that we've got to 2021 and there isn't that. So, amazing that you're doing it. And I think it's really going to give a lot of people guidance. You're getting some really good response from the corporates as well that are interested in this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's actually come out from World Administrators Alliance, who I've been very involved with for the last 6 years. World Administrators Alliance is the equivalent of the G8 for assistants. So it meets every 2 to 3 years, and it's the heads of the associations and the leaders from around the world, and they meet and it's a working meeting. They talk about the things that are most important to the profession. So 2015 was when they decided this was needed. And as I say, it's been 6 years of work. But yes, the corporates are, almost every time we talk to a business, we're mentioning this, and the reaction has just been extraordinary. And we've got meetings lined up for probably the rest of the year with HR departments to talk them through how it's going to work.
Fabulous. So you didn't just happen to land in the position that you have. You've worked hard for many, many years to get to where you are and what you're doing. For you, have you found, throughout your career, challenges that have affected you and made you have a different mindset, or, what challenges have you found personally?
Oh, plenty. I started at 18 at a local paper, and went from there to the Times and worked at the Times for several years, and then moved on. I became a publisher quite early. I was one of the youngest publishers in the UK when I made that move. But I worked all in male areas. So, for example, I was group publisher of the engineering division for Centaur Publishing. And other than the assistants, I was the only woman there. And God forbid, I was also a baby woman. I think I was 30 odd when I got that job. Wow. And everybody else that worked there was older than God. They were all engineers who had been there writing forever. And I can remember one of the guys shuffling past me at 11 o'clock, actually, because he usually had far too much to drink by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So he was always late. And he came in one morning, he said, "I'm sorry, I'm late, sir. My legs were slow." That's what he said as he walked past me. But he was brilliant at his job, real baptism of fire. And actually, once they realised that I wasn't there to make the tea, and that actually I really did know what I was doing, we had a fabulous relationship. Yeah. But many of the publishing divisions I worked in were all men and me. And I really had to prove myself again and again. And I always felt like I was slightly an outsider. And it's interesting because my publishing career started at Creme, so I understood this market. I actually worked on 9 to 5 magazine as well, which is bizarre because 9 to 5 magazine in London came off the 9 to 5 movement, which I was talking to Karen about yesterday. So it's almost like it kept calling me. And then I got given the magazine, which was at that point a newsletter, in 2003, and ran it as a newsletter until 2011, which is when I launched it properly. But, I left the last job that I worked in because it was just... I ended up having a breakdown. And by that, I don't mean gibbering in a corner. What I mean is I was just absolutely exhausted of trying to be everything to all people. I was on a train at 7 a.m. I was rarely home before 10 o'clock at night. Between us, my husband and I have 7 children. We were at year end, and I had a boss who was a bully. And the result of that is that I went in one day, stared at my computer and thought, I don't think I can do this anymore, and went home and went to the doctor and was signed off for 5 weeks with exhaustion, ended up on medication. And when I came out the other end of that, and the business decided that actually they didn't want me to come back in anymore, I thought, okay, now what do I do? Because I've gone from a 6-figure salary to 0 overnight, and we had children in private school and everything else.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this magazine I've owned forever, I'm going to turn into a proper magazine, and I can do it for work-life balance from my kitchen table. Well, that was a joke. But actually doing things on my own terms. Yeah. And not having to deal with office politics and all that stuff has been one of my greatest lessons, and forging my own path and being true to who I am. I think when you're able to be authentic, it all gets a lot less painful.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I know you do, you mentor other women and you lift people up, and I do, and I love that. We've spoke about it many a time, but why do you think that's important today, to lift other women up?
Because I think we're still not there yet. And I think for an awful lot of women, they would much rather put down other women than lift them up, because it makes them feel more powerful. But that's what the workplace is set up to do. The guys don't do that. I realized at some point in my career that actually it wasn't personal. It was all about business as far as the guys were concerned. And therefore, if I just got my head into a position where I understood that, I would be fine. You know, we as women are taught that if you're fair, if you play nicely, you know, as children, and you share and you do things in the proper way, then everything is going to be great. And it's not like that in business. In business, it's about the money and it's about the bottom line. And they might like you and try and do what's nice for you, but actually the bottom line is that it's about the bottom line. And once I realized that, my life got a lot easier, until I encountered a female boss and got into that whole situation, which was just absolutely toxic. And I can't bear it. I won't have it. And, you know, I just don't want anybody to ever feel the way that I felt, because somebody else feels that the way to empower themselves is to put other people down.
Yeah, I know, it's hard. Okay, we're just coming to the end, and there's one thing. If there was a lesson that you could share, that if you knew then that you could have shared with your younger self, what would it be?
I think I would have realized that if I spoke up, I would probably get further quicker. It's all about communication. You know, I was always absolutely terrified that I was going to get found out, that I didn't know as much as they thought I knew, right from the beginning, you know. And I think it's one of the things that women do to themselves all the time. They have those little voices in their heads that say, who do you think you are? And other people are going to feel like you're overstepping the mark, and really don't put your head above the parapet because you might get shot down. If I had realized in my corporate life what I know now as a publisher, I was pretty successful anyway, but I think I would have had a much easier ride of it, because they're not mind readers. And unless you say the thing, how do they know what it is that you're trying to do?
Yeah, that's lovely. That's really, really great. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. You are a fabulous woman, and you definitely inspire me. Happy International Women's Day, and thanks for sharing this time. I can't wait to see you at the PA show, 22nd and 23rd of June, so it'd be the right time to get back to meeting people in person at Excel. We're all really excited to see you there, and have a lovely day.